there's been a resurgence in interest on colonialism. What has colonialism done to church? Why do we follow the colonizer's religion? He said, I have trouble following a book that was brought to me by people who took so much away from me.
We ended up with an inferiority ideology of ourselves, believing that everything that was ours wasn't okay. God was anti us. We more needed to be reconciled to God than the missionary needed. At the end of the day, we thought God works on that side with them. And we need to cross over the abyss to reach out to God. He became their God who is being shared with us, not the God of the universe. You can't say the house is burning and you are seated and say, I'm the most eloquent person to explain how the house is burning.
Welcome to the Truth Talk Podcast, where we uncover the hidden truths and untold stories. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the host and guest, and they aim to bring light to the unspoken realities of life. The content shared here is for informational purposes only, and it is not intended to replace professional advice. Listener discretion is advised. Now, to the podcast.
Hello and welcome to Truth Talk Podcast. My name is Jason, the Soulful Nerd, and I'm here with a professional Bible nerd. He gets paid to talk about Bible stuff. He's a pastor of a church unnamed, and today we've brought him in to talk about he has very interesting views on every topic, but we wanted him to talk to us about colonialism in the church. Today's episode is titled Just How Thick Are Colonialism's Chains? But I'll have him greet you and tell you his name because he can speak for himself.
Hello, my name is Ntokozo Nyathi, and I'm happy to be with this gentleman here. I hope everything that he's going to ask is relevant to what I know. Yes.
Yes. Yeah, thank you for that. Oh yeah, and by the way, if you're interested in a t-shirt, you can drop us a line in the comments. If you're interested in if you have questions or comments, you can drop them in the comments as well. And we're on Spotify now. My co-host, who's usually here, is not here. He's chatting to his wife somewhere. He always says I have to say we're on Spotify with excitement, so because I don't want to get thrown off the podcast. Yeah, we're on Spotify. Yay. You can like, subscribe, and share. Yay, Spotify. Yay, I forgot my confetti. Yay. Okay, so now that I've done my bit to stroke my co-host's ego, even though he's not here, we can start. So, Brother Ntokozo, our first section is colonialism comes to church.
Okay.
Now, we wanted to talk about this because when we started our this season, the first question was, what would you do if you woke up one morning and you found that you're the only member of your church? So we've been talking about church stuff, and we've been marching through different topics, but going on our way back to church. And in recent times, at least especially amongst young people, there's been a resurgence in interest on colonialism. What has colonialism done to church? Why do we follow the colonizer's religion? I remember a particular actor being interviewed on television. The actor was on a podcast, and they asked him, "Are you a Christian? Are you a church person?" And he said, he was polite about it. He said, "I have trouble following a book that was brought to me by people who took so much away from me. He's a colonizer. He's come to colonize me. And he says, I should study this book. I've got a problem. I prefer to go with ancestral worship because at least I saw my grandfather. He's not alive now, but it's someone I saw. So I'd rather go with the religion of my forefathers than this." And so even today, the undercurrents, which still haven't gone away, where people say, but aren't we following the white man's religion when we're black people? is it really possible to be a Christian and not be colonized? Can we have decoloniality and still be Christian as well? Which is what we want to look at today, colonialism and the church. And so the first question I have for you is, what are the three biggest effects of Western colonialism on Christianity in Africa, in your opinion?
Maybe before I try to answer that one first,
Okay.
I want to say the greatest question will be, can decoloniality be possible to walk hand in hand with Christianity?
Yeah.
Maybe if ever there is a book that wants to liberate everyone,
Okay.
that is the Bible.
Okay.
Its very setting is for liberation. You can't read the Bible once, twice, and remain not seeing that this book is trying to set me free from many other things. I like a statement by the Apostle Paul,
Okay.
which I would think will be very relevant when you talk about the decoloniality and colonialization and Christianity. It says, did the gospel find you a Jew? Don't be a Gentile.
Okay.
Did it find you a Gentile? Don't be a Jew.
Okay.
Did it find you free? Don't be a slave. Then he says, did it find you a slave? I wish you could be free. Okay. But if you are not, you are free in Christ. The first book that wants to, much of what we call human rights around here,
okay,
unknowingly are just prodigal children of the Bible.
Okay.
Then I will leave it there.
Wow.
Then come to your question. That are three major things that could have come with Christianity talk, with colonialism and Christianity at the same time. The first thing I would divide into two facets is miseducation. I will say a miseducation first about how to handle the material world, wealth, etc. The first thing that the colonialists did was to try to screen some texts from the Bible out of context and give them to us in such a way that after listening to them repeatedly again and again every week, we ended up thinking that the Bible is teaching this, teaching that being a Christian is being anti-material things. So that's why you see that there are people who find themselves holier by being poor. This is born out of a misunderstanding that was deliberate at a certain point by the colonialist. That's number one. The other side is health. No one has ever studied how healthy people were in Africa before they come. It's true they faced some other problems. But do you notice that when the colonialists came here, there was totally no hospital at all? The hospital is there to curb a problem that is already there. But to find a place without a hospital, we're finding people who are healthy. They have been taught better about the principles of health than you would ever imagine. That's another thing. So we were also taught that our systems were wrong. The system, our handling of material world and our handling of our bodies was wrong. But as we notice, you notice that these things didn't do us any injury. The injury was greater when they started teaching us than what we had before. So one answer is divided into two. The other thing is we ended up with an inferiority ideology of ourselves, believing that everything that was ours wasn't okay. God was anti us. We more needed to be reconciled to God than the missionary needed. At the end of the day, we thought God works on that side with them. And we need to cross over the abyss to reach out to God. He became their God, who is being shared with us, not the God of the universe. This is the greatest message. Even today, when the African thinks of God, he is thinking of a Western ideologist supreme leader. That's the idea. So I'll put it that way.
No, that's a mouthful. That's a lot already. So on the part of how they influence the way we view the material world, were you referring to all the talk about heaven?
You notice the biblical statement seems to suggest that when Adam was created, he was given wealth.
Yes.
So wealth is going hand in hand with men.
Yeah.
And a man should not shun health because it's one of the first gifts that he received from his maker.
Yes.
But when somebody teaches you that your wealth is not here,
Okay.
is somewhere in another
Yeah.
planet, as if God created you here for another planet.
Yeah.
This is a miseducation. I will call it miseducation. You have been mistaught, you have been misdirected, you have been misled. You are now thinking of wealth that is not discussed in the biblical book.
Yeah.
And you have only heard it from another person, and that person told you is found in the book.
Okay.
And you have now accused the book of things that were not spoken by the book, but spoken by a person who pointed you to the book.
Okay. So it's a tradition more than something that was found in the Bible.
It's baseless in the Bible.
Because a couple of episodes ago, in one of our early episodes, we said that the Bible story is the story of paradise lost and paradise restored.
All right.
So the Bible story doesn't end in heaven, but it ends in heaven on earth. So in the end, we're going back to the paradise that we were given. So that should influence how we carry out our activities on this earth. Or when I feel like putting it more provocatively, I say, why should God trust me with the brand new earth if I'm careless with the old one? If somebody lends me his old bicycle, and I'm careless with it, why should he trust me with his brand new sports car?
Jesus put it better.
Yeah.
You would say,
obviously,
if somebody has been unfaithful in what is not his,
yes,
how can he be given what can be his?
Yeah.
We cannot hope for a life that is endless when we are jeopardizing this short life.
Yeah.
The first idea you could have about the next life is how you handle the present life.
Okay.
If the next life has wealth, you will be seeing how you handle wealth here. You won't be a slave of it, but you will know how to master it. Actually, the biblical story says, as the children of God were chased out of Eden, the first injunction was go occupy land. Part of land occupation was an idea from God. Go and till the land and get food. Have you ever noticed that after so-called education, many people do not need land at all?
Okay.
They will rather stay in boxes of matches houses without any land that is theirs. Miseducation brought by the person who took the land, while he taught you to stay where there is no land, living that day.
Okay.
Yeah,
man, that's because that's explosive. That's potentially explosive, and I like it that way. I like explosive things. To further plummet, because it sounds like you're saying one of the things that came with colonialism to the church is that colonialism made us weak. It made us weak. And I've heard a lot of people who complain about that. And they, to a large extent, they sound a lot like Friedrich Nietzsche, a philosopher named Friedrich Nietzsche, who's, I think he was a Lutheran pastor's son or something of the sort. And in the late 1800s, late 19th century, he came up with statements like God is dead and the like. And the thing about Nietzsche is he felt, if I remember well, he felt that Christianity made people weak. He said the Romans were strong, but the Christians defeated them by convincing them that weakness is strength. And so a lot of people said, no, Christianity makes us weak. People have been sold a heaven and made to forget earthly realities. And then I've thought to myself as I listened to them, okay, fine. You're saying this is what the white people brought to us. But when Nietzsche was talking about this, he was talking about Europe. And he was talking about Europeans to say, when I look at my people here, this religion
has
weakened them. So is it fair to blame all of that on colonialism? Because when the same people who came here had suffered centuries of that sort of thing. Even Karl Marx, I think, said religion is the opium of the masses. And he was talking about Europeans.
Okay, I'll try to answer this first by going a little back.
Okay.
When we talk about Christianity, I don't know what we're talking about personally. Why? Because I almost believe that from the very onset, Adam could be called a Christian.
Okay.
So, is it the same people that moved the pages of the Old Testament that were weak? I don't think people agree with that.
Okay.
But those were Christians. Actually, they laid the foundation of what we now call Christianity.
Yeah.
So when you talk of David, you are talking about the foundation layers of the same religion we call Christianity today. So I think a misconception about it weakens people.
Okay.
Not it. That's my answer.
Okay.
A misconception about it can weaken men.
Okay.
But the religion itself, nothing can ennoble. Its very purpose is to lift men. It comes first with an idea that man has fallen weak, has fallen.
Okay.
So its very purpose is to raise him out. Nothing can make men better than it.
Okay. Man, that's incredible. So in essence, maybe what people are blaming on Christianity could be blamed on something else that injected itself into Christianity. And it hit the Europeans. And then after it hit the Europeans, it spread.
And hit everyone.
Everyone else.
I'll call it first and foremost capitalism riding on Christianity. I'll call it, because at least if you want to know, Europe was made weaker by capitalism in the name of Christianity.
Okay.
And as it spread, we call it colonialism here, but it's the same system of capitalism, only to conquer now. It's the same thing. The victim, Christianity became the host.
Okay.
And these parasites were injuring not only Christianity, they injured everyone that is in touch with Christianity that they have already wrought on.
Okay. Now, thank you for that. Now, on the part you spoke about health, but some would say there were diseases that we couldn't cure here, that we were struggling with.
In as much as there were diseases.
And they brought medicines.
Right. Yeah. In as much as there were diseases, they could not cure the side.
Okay.
Humanity is weak at every level.
Okay.
There is no time when humanity will be perfect.
Okay.
Maybe until that day. Before the day of the Lord, before the eschatological day, humanity must face weakness in different facets.
Okay.
What I was trying to say is, look, today in a village where there were 100 people before the advent of the, out of these 100 people, is either the sick were taken care of in the family, meaning the art of education in that family was so advanced that family members could take care of their family member when he or she is sick.
Okay.
Or there were no hospitals to gather. It means these people might have been healthier than we would have thought.
Okay.
Came this other time when we grabbed their culture thinking it is also Christianity.
Okay.
And every corner of the street, we now need a surgery, a hospital, a pharmacy. It's a proof of how we have become weak even when we think we're more enlightened.
Okay. Yes.
I
like that because I like that you brought that up. My mother's a nurse.
Right.
She trained in Europe.
Okay.
Before she came back. I was born here.
All right.
But I've noticed that all throughout my lifetime, my mom is very reluctant to give me medication.
Okay.
Even when I was a child, she would try natural remedies before she'd give me medication. So sometimes people think, "Oh, do you know that medication?" I think, "No, actually, I don't know that." If I'm sick, my mom will boil guava leaves. Tastes like it's going to kill you, but man, it works really quickly.
Maybe.
So some of the when I listen to what you're saying, the problem here seems to be an idea that spiritual and the idea that spiritual and the spiritual and the physical are divorced. So when I look at a man, when I look at a human being, I see him as a spirit that is waiting to escape.
It's unfortunate that the biblical writers did not live in that world.
Yeah, yeah.
In a world of a dichotomy between the material and the spiritual. Yeah. To them, the spiritual affected the material and the material affected the spiritual. To them, they lived in let me call it a united universe.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
To them, there were no universes in the universe.
Yeah, yeah.
They had a complete united universe. So much that ideas affected them materially and affected them spiritually.
Okay.
When we started the dichotomy between the two, we lost on both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because even when you start Genesis 1, you have a spiritual God working in the physical reality. And at the end of each day, he looks and says, man, that's really good. So he endorses the material. Exactly. So this idea that the two are separate it's not biblical. It came from somewhere else.
Yes, but look at its far-ending results. The world we are living in today has so many wicked people than we could imagine.
Okay.
We still think that I'm now done with my week. Okay. I'm going to attend to spiritual issues. Okay. One human being believes that he has some spiritual realities to attend to and some material realities. When he's attending his realities, the material realities, he divorces the spiritual ones the other way around.
Yeah. So it's as if he leaves his brain at the gate when he comes to church, and then when he leaves church, he leaves God locked up in church. And see you next week, God. And
my favorite writer, one of them is called N.T. Wright. Yeah. He writes that it's like a house with two apartments. Yeah. God stays on the other apartment, like an old man who when he's not wanted in the business side, he might scare some customers. Yeah. So he's consulted upstairs. You leave him there, you come here and do your things, and when you need him, you rise up. That's the world we're now living in, where people, by attending to churches as if they are attending to God, God wasn't there in the industry, was not there in business transactions. Okay. He is only situated in a certain place, and you can't take him to your business. Okay. He will spoil the business for you.
Yeah. It's bad for business. God is bad for business.
He's a bad God.
Thank you for that. Okay, so colonialism. Yeah, it's bad. It's rough. It's taking us out. But what about, is there anything that African Christians falsely blame on colonialism?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I think very much. You notice, Mr. Jason, if I come to the conclusion that every time you give me a glass of water, okay, you have put poison in it, and I come daily for glasses of water, who's poison who? If ever as Africans we believe that colonialism did us wrong,
okay,
we have subsisted on its information on daily basis so much that we have not created another. We're still drinking from the same source. So even our theology is tinkered by their mindset so much that they are no longer our enemies per se. Okay. We are enemies to ourselves. I think we blame them. It was better for those who lived before us, okay, to blame them for their misfortunes. Okay. But for us who have seen the misfortunes of our fathers, to sit down and say, you see, this guy is always poisoning people, mm-hmm, and we are queuing to get their poison. I think that's not their business. Now it's our business.
Okay. So we're supposed to change and move forward. But somebody could say, coming back to your answer to the first question, yes, that, well, we've had our sense of self so obliterated that we can't stand up now. So it's really their fault. The fact that we can't move away from the poison is that they've smashed our kneecaps as well. So it's still their fault. It's not my fault. I think I remember, I won't mention names. Yeah. There's a particular WhatsApp group, both of us belong to it. Okay. And there's a member of that WhatsApp group who always says that, no, we can't shift and change because colonialists totally obliterated us. So we're weakened. I don't know how to put it. It's okay to use your analogy. These guys keep serving us poison, but I can't go anywhere. My kneecaps, because he also to keep me here drinking his poison, he smashed my kneecaps as well.
It's better if you don't know that he smashed you. But when you have known and you are doing nothing about it, then I still blame you.
Okay.
It's better for you to be poisoned daily by something that you think is food.
Okay.
Than for you first to know that this is poison and they say, I have no power to resist it. The ability to recognize it is the ability to start resisting it.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think the greatest mistake that is done by us blaming colonialism on daily basis, it has its ills. But to continue blaming them, even on things that we can change.
Okay.
But let's take the example of your mother,
okay,
who still insisted on these natural herbs.
Yeah.
Good as they are, many of the so-called blamers of colonialism do not take them.
Okay. So what's the problem? If they say I'm doing this because the colonialists did this to me, who would you say? What? And you say no, that's just an excuse. What then is the problem? Why do we keep doing that?
First, some of us are living years apart from the actions of the colonialists.
Okay.
Our fathers could have said that better.
Okay.
For us to repeat it might show some laziness to stand up and be men enough.
Okay.
On our side. Our fathers will be surprised to wake up and hear you saying, we're doing this because they will say, I thought my condition is understandable, but yours I can't.
Okay.
They cannot understand. A closer investigation, we are able to blame, but we are never able to move.
Okay.
This is not the business of the colonialists now. Okay. He hammered my father enough.
Yeah.
But for me to continue blaming him and doing nothing about my situation doesn't show. I don't think my father was going to be saying the same things and doing nothing about them.
Okay.
Yeah. I think a laziness of some sort has rested upon us.
So it means a lot of our thinkers are not as profound as they think, as they say they are.
You know, when they criticize the colonialists, which is, they have some facts, but they end there. You can't say the house is burning and you are seated and say, I'm the most eloquent person to explain how the house is burning.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense.
Get out.
If it's burning, get out.
Yeah.
The greatest mistake that we have found is that all of us are now orators of the actions of the colonialists.
Okay.
We have coined better ways on daily basis. We are adding in the vocabulary, but we are doing nothing about our situation. The first thing that we should have done was to do something before we say something.
Okay. Thank you for that. That's important. Now, to the crux of the matter. Aren't we better off leaving Christianity? Since it's already so muddled, aren't we better off leaving Christianity and going back to the religion of our forefathers?
There are interesting things that I'll say on that. First, who knows the religion of our forefathers now? Many don't even know their forefathers. And they presume to think that they will know the religion of their forefathers. I will leave that there. But let me come to this. Another thing, the question presupposes that the battle is between the religion of our forefathers and Christianity.
Okay.
Which thing is not true. Okay. The battle is between the colonialists' use of Christianity and us.
Okay.
So the colonialist wasn't specifically fighting my religion. Okay. He was not using Christianity to fight my religion per se. Okay. He had a religion that he took advantage of. He abused, rather. Okay. He abused it to abuse me. Okay. Now, the religion of my father did not explain to the colonialists anything that we can now go to, because we have our data for religion existence. Okay. It comes from the colonialists. I'm sorry to say that, but few people know what their religion was. Another thing is, everyone who think of decoloniality thinks that decoloniality is de-Christianizing.
Okay. That's not.
That's not it.
Yeah.
Decoloniality is decoloniality, and it stands as decoloniality.
It's kicking the devil out of the way.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we can.
Yeah.
We don't throw away the knives because somebody used them to stab us, but we kick the thief out and we use the knives to slice our food.
It brings back to the question that you asked previously. A person who does not understand the issues at stake will fight Christianity.
Okay.
It was not the colonizer.
Okay. On that point, we'll have to take a break. So drink some water, not poisoned colonial water, and we'll see you soon. See you when we get back. Hello, and welcome back to our interesting episode on just how thick our colonialism's chains. We've just had our section, colonialism comes to church, and now we want to move to the next section. And where was God? And the question is, how can I trust God when He let colonialism happen on His watch? Because we've been talking so much about, God is good, God is loving, God has our best interest at heart. Why was He watching when evil people hijacked his because you said the Bible's religion is about freedom, and He let people hijack that and use it to enslave others? What was He doing?
Okay, there is an interesting text in the book of Isaiah.
Okay.
Where the writer says, in all their affliction, He was afflicted with them. He is discussing the children of Israel's journeys from Egypt to the promised land. And he says, in their suffering, God suffered together with them. There is another sense that we always have, that since God is all-powerful, He will... Those of us who have once had power over things know that power is not just used indiscriminate. One has to be wise in using power. That's point number. But I will dwell upon the text first. In all their afflictions, He was afflicted. Maybe God suffered with the African. That's point number one. Okay. Many people asking where He was. He might have been on their side suffering together with them. But the other thing is maybe the best answer to the problem of evil.
Okay.
When evil men stand up to conquer, to defeat, to rule, to destroy the innocent, you can only find it in the parable of Jesus. Jesus put a parable across, and in the parable, I'm going to leave much of the details. He says that the sower went forth to sow good seed.
Okay.
And whilst men were asleep, his enemy went to the same field and sowed tares.
Okay.
Then when the servants come to the master and say, hey, we are seeing tares, he says, the enemy has done it. The first idea that God will want us to understand is that there is an enemy moving around in His kingdom, in His territory, in His universe. So He wants us to know that it's not everything that happens to us comes from Him.
Okay.
He might have allowed or suffered together with us in a thing. Okay. I will repeat that one. Allowed and suffered together with us. There are things that God allows.
Yeah.
There are things where together with us He cries.
Okay.
I will repeat that one. He cries. This is not known. People think that since He's this powerful, he has the power to do anything, anytime, anyhow, anytime. But a closer investigation, He is also touched with the feeling of our weaknesses. He is a God that can cry.
Yeah.
So I will say, first, maybe He cried with us.
Okay.
Secondly, it was not Him doing it. His enemy has done it. Okay. And He wants us to recognize that in the cosmic conflict, He has an enemy.
Okay.
Yes.
That's profound. Well, I've noticed something about us as church people, Christians. When somebody does something against me, I expect God to come down heavily on his side. So I want to appeal to God's power. But when I've done something wrong, I expect God to be merciful. So it's as if I want a schizophrenic God who's
Exactly.
wishy-washy. But there's something consistent about God in that he's able to mingle mercy and justice at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And that would entail allowing things that he doesn't like to go on, which is an incredible use of power, that a being that powerful is able to restrain himself. So even when he says to me, Jason, I need you to restrain yourself, it's consistent with what I believe, what I find God to be in the Bible, that God never asks us to be that which he has not been himself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe one of the greatest mistakes about our understanding about power is that to be powerful is to do.
Yeah.
Sometimes to be powerful is not to do.
Okay.
If I kick you and you don't kick back, it might be that you are powerful.
Okay.
Yeah. So when we look at God sometimes not standing up for us, not standing up where we expect him to stand up, let me put it that way.
Yeah.
Where it doesn't show a sign of weakness, of ignorance, or of carelessness. It might be showing great power.
Okay.
A God who could do anything, anytime, and is doing nothing at a critical time, sometimes might prove that he is too powerful, able to restrain himself. A good example is like the statements that were thrown to Jesus as he hung on the cross.
Okay.
Jump from the cross and save yourself.
Yeah.
He had that power. Everyone knew, and he knew that he has the capacity to do that.
Yeah.
But his strength lay in remaining on the cross.
Okay.
So I believe God suffers with the suffering of you. If ever you cause suffering upon somebody, know that you are also causing it to God. He is suffering with the suffering.
Okay. Okay. So much for that. But still, somebody could, one could say that, okay, he suffered with us, but when is it enough? When does he plan on standing up and saying, okay, it's gone on long enough now, it's time for the African Christian to rise up?
You read from the Bible that God gave his laws so that men might live by them.
Okay.
Part of the, as I said earlier, part of the rise that we hear people clamoring for around here, even the abolition of slaves itself came from the people that had read from the Bible that men are created equal.
Yeah.
The idea, you can now become a humanist by the claims, but you derived the information from the Bible. The God of the Bible, being the God of liberty, expects everyone who reads in his word to find his own liberty and the liberty of his brother. You will notice that again and again the Bible writes as it were in the second person. It does not talk about what the other should not do to you.
Yeah.
It's always talking about you doing something or not doing something to others. So maybe the African needs to go back to God's word and discover how he can rise from it.
Okay. Which ties in with what we said just before we went for the break when we're talking about why then shouldn't we leave Christianity for our forefathers' religion?
Yes.
There was somebody I know who posted on their status once, and they said, I've decided to get to know God as an African. I want to leave this colonial stuff behind. And I replied, I said to the person, why don't you get to know God as an individual? Because when you wake up in the morning, before you're African or European, before you're Christian or Muslim, before anything else, you're an individual. I didn't say those other identities don't matter or are insignificant, but none of them are as significant as you as the individual. Yeah.
I'm still waiting to see a person a decolonialist, who has found error in the Bible.
Okay.
They will criticize it without criticizing a specific point in it.
Yeah, yeah.
Have you ever noticed? It shows that they don't sink the thinking shaft deeper when they want to discuss these issues.
Okay.
They prefer to
Shallow.
ignore reality.
Yeah, yeah.
They shallowly discuss that the Christianity, the Bible brought. They know what happened. They know that it was not the Bible, it was not Christianity that brought colonialism. And if they go to the Bible, they won't find any statement, any mandate to go conquer, go colonize and such. They will not. So they prefer to say Christianity, Christianity. Ask them the greatest question. Show us the phrases, the dogmas of Christianity that colonizes. They don't have them. They are not there. So what are they living? They've agreed that somebody poisoned the water.
Yeah, yeah.
And a certain cup of water. They want to say all water must not be drunk, which I think is incongruent with the proper reasoning.
It's another form of lazy thinking.
Exactly.
Okay. Wow, that's incredible. Thank you for that. Now we come to the next section, which is so what? We've talked about colonialism. This is what is bad. This is what we need to own. So before we talk about what we should do, what shouldn't we do? Because my question here is, since God is working toward reconciliation, what is the worst that African Christians could do?
Maybe of all the statements about the Bible,
Okay.
forgiveness towers higher than anything. Let us not go back to the former colonizer and do to him something that will make him in the future think that justice demands that we be visited by retribution.
Okay.
I'll repeat that one. There is a way of thinking that says, since they did that to us, why don't we sit down and give them what they gave us, a double portion of what they gave us? You are only reiterating what you are only evil, except on that you are evil last. I will repeat that statement. You are not evil at the beginning of the walk. You are simply saying he loves best, that loves last.
Okay.
You are evil last.
Okay.
But evil and evil will bring about evil again.
Okay.
So we do not need to go back and destroy them.
Okay.
What has been lost has been lost. But what can be regained without us injuring the next person.
Okay.
Lest in the future, years after us, his son will also injure our son, and our son his son, and the list is endless.
Instead of, because the truth be told, we as Africans and they as Europeans, we actually have a lot to learn from each other. And we're all colonial. I said that once while I was teaching a class at church. And people looked at me like I was crazy. Like, what do you mean we're all colonial? I said to them, if I had the guns, I would colonize all of you. And they thought it's Jason joking as usual. So I went home laughing to myself. These guys thought I was joking, but I wasn't joking. If the problem of colonialism is not a racial problem, it's a human problem. It's a human who looks at the other one and says, I can't be more unless you're less.
One guy would put it this way.
Yeah.
We are wrong in our mission command center.
Yeah.
Humanity's problem is in them.
Yeah.
It's
not in the skin.
It's not a skin problem.
Yeah.
It's not an ideological problem.
Yeah.
It's a problem that almost human beings are born with.
It's the nature.
Kinda like, their nature is wrong. Therefore, if out of your wrong nature you have done me wrong, and I respond by allowing my wrong nature to do you wrong again, then you will also allow your wrong nature to do double wrong on me. We need a system, a principle, a philosophy, a law from outside humanity to help us in our dilemma. When one has done me wrong, the natural inclination is to revenge. We need a power to forgive, and the forgiveness is able to call enemies friends.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, because hey, it's a sensitive issue. But even in our own country, there were disturbances, some issues in the not too distant past. And I remember chatting with other people of my community of faith. And I said, I think that disturbance is too bad to punish. Or the way I put it, I said, I don't believe, I can't think of any punishment for that that would not reduce its
the intensity
the egregious nature of what it did. So it's so bad that the only thing we can do is to forgive it. But I think a lot of people don't like that because deep down there's a misunderstanding of God. You're doomed to become whatever you worship.
Say that again.
So if you worship a God who's going to roast people forever for 70 years, if they're lucky, of wrongdoing, it's going to carry over into how you treat people who've wronged you.
Exactly.
So you may actually, I remember, I think, hearing a historian say that during the Inquisition,
yes,
some of the justification that church people felt they had for torturing heretics to death was, they said, these people are going to burn forever anyway. So by burning them here, we're taking part in what God is doing. We're joining God's plan for that. Yeah.
Right. So theology informs practice.
Yeah.
Whatsoever you think about God is how you will behave.
Yeah.
Here in the issue of decoloniality, it might not be an issue of how we look at the other race.
Yeah.
It might not be the issue of how we look at the other tribe.
Yeah.
It's an issue of how we have viewed God.
Yeah.
We have viewed God as kind of like a vengeful power out there. Yeah. And we are in our capacity trying to act like him.
Yeah. Yeah.
The nothing. There is an author that had put this one, that a misconception about God and his attributes is surely worshipping a wrong God, as were any other idolaters in any other time. When you have a wrong view about God, how he treats the problem of evil, the problem of injustices, social and whatsoever, when you have a wrong view about how God handles matters, you will surely handle matters wrongly.
Yeah.
So we might not be responding from a Christian or religious point of view. We are only responding from a depraved, natural point of view.
Okay.
The human nature, says Jeremiah, the heart is deceitful above all things and is desperately wicked. We might be wickedly attributing to the next tribe what is in our minds.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nah, that's profound. So you've spoken against retribution. That's one of the worst things an African Christian could do. Have you got anything else that you?
I think in almost this now touches all corners of life.
Okay.
Have you ever noticed that however much a Christian one is, as you put it across, there is a desire that that they wish some other people to be fixed somehow.
Yeah.
Why doesn't God? If I don't have power, I cry to God to fix the next person. Fix my brother. We always have you ever? We are living in a generation where they are Christians. I call them back to sender Christians, where where you kind of like every time they discover that an evil has attended to them, they think it's coming from one of us around there.
Okay.
Then they can spend a whole hour trying to send evil back. Is that the spirit of Christianity? One thing that I believe, we have lost the spirit of the Bible.
Okay.
Not only us, almost the entire world is living in an unbiblical world, and I don't want to say unbiblical, a world where the Bible does not exist, an unbiblical one suggests the availability of the book, but left aside.
Opposition.
But we are almost living where
Oblivious.
Exactly. Yes.
We're oblivious to it. Okay, thank you for that. So, for everything you've said for this question in particular, it seems that parable of the wheat and the tares that you referenced earlier, that the tares are not, you could sort of say it's bad people, but also bad ideas about God. And they look so alike, they're so similar to the truth. It's a slight distortion that only appears at the end. So there's some times where God is saying, I can't respond with force to just rip up because it'll make the problem worse. So throughout history, there are things that I have to let play out so that they'll only become apparent at the end. Yeah.
Excellent. You know, I always believe that that was one of the greatest parables Jesus put across. It presupposes that there are powers at hand.
Yeah.
Sometimes while it's thinking that we are doing our rational thinking, those powers, let me say, overtake us, hijack our imagination, and they inspire us with the next thought. Much of the evil that is happening in our world has never been attributed to the right person.
Okay.
We have attributed them to the instruments that were used by the right person.
Okay.
There seems to be a chief instigator of evil, the least discussed person in all the cosmic conflict that is taking place. Okay. But if we were to take it from the biblical understanding, Jesus is asked by his disciples, so explain the parable. He says, the good person is me. Let me put it paraphrased. I'm that good person. And
not the disciples.
Yeah. And the children of light are the seeds that I sowed.
Yeah.
And the bad person is the enemy, is Satan, the evil one. Here we live in a world haunted by Satan. Okay. One of the least things thought is that when we discuss reconciliation, he doesn't want it.
Yeah.
He will do everything in his power for us not to discuss it or for the discussion to fail, because he is a lord of jeopardy. So he will want us to always remain in jeopardy. Whensoever tangible issues are being touched, people prefer to say, let's throw away Christianity, as if Christianity is the one that brought evil hearts. Evil hearts are there because there is another person who's sowing seeds. Yeah. And we need to understand that as long as that person is left scot-free, he has power to infiltrate our ideologies.
Okay, thank you. So now, finally, what should I do?
I personally think that since we're discussing decoloniality and Christianity, people should know what Christianity was before colonization came. Why is that important? I think we live in a generation of many Christians who have never known the word as it reads.
Okay.
I almost wonder if there are Christians that sit down to read the Bible purely as the book reads. Okay. Many of us have ideas about Christianity that the Bible also will clap hands and say, I know nothing about that idea. We have accepted a religion from men.
Okay.
And we have forgotten that it has its source in the book.
Okay.
If every young person, every old man were to go back to the book, they will see the mistake of their brother from an enlightened version.
Yeah.
Instead of seeing their brother with the Bible as the mistake.
Okay.
Now they see both the Bible and the brother as the mistake. For all the evils that have taken place under the sun, the Bible seems to be able to dissect, to give a line that shows that this is error, and those on error are capitalizing on A, B, C, D, and this is the truth. In our view, things seem hazy for many people. They almost throw the bathing water with the child
baby,
together. Now, at the end of the day, we need to be vigilant in reading this book. I'm interested in that guy whom I called the NM, the chief M, Satan.
Yeah.
He reads the book. he quoted it for Jesus.
Yeah.
The idea is he understands. Many Christians don't even know the book, yet they believe that the book had some error that made the colonizer use the error in the book to colonize. I think the very first thing that I wish everyone to do,
read the book.
Starting with me, read the book. Condemn Christianity from its own source, not from the mouths around it. There have been billions of books written around the book, but they are not the book.
And many people are experts in what's been said about the Bible.
Exactly.
Than the Bible itself.
So says the Bible says, hey, when will you check the Bible for what it says?
Yeah, ask it for itself. It's like people tell you, no, look, your neighbor is like this, that. And you're always telling me, no, my neighbor's like this, that. But have you ever gone next door, hung out with the neighbor and found out if it were true or not?
Yeah. So I think our greatest task, the task at hand for everyone who calls himself a Christian, and those who think they are decolonialists, they should know what they are fighting. They will end up fighting what they need not fight.
Okay.
So are you a decolonialist? That's okay. But what are you fighting? Are you able to spell out the exact things that you are against? Okay. You will discover that you are not against a principle that says love your neighbor as yourself.
Okay.
You are not against a principle that says honor your father and your mother. What exactly in the book are you against? Many of us are shallowly against the Bible.
Okay.
That deeper they sink the shaft, they will know that the book is blameless.
Okay, so the problem is hot-spotted anger.
Exactly.
Yeah, you borrowed somebody's anger.
The religion.
Yeah, it's not yours. Which is what we discussed first episode, that you've got to own what you believe. It's at some point it's got to stop being mommy's religion, my pastor's religion, my colonializer's religion. It must become mine. Yeah.
That's why I say to those of us, many of us who think they need to go back to the ancestors' religion don't even know the ancestors. So you wonder, he doesn't know the Bible, he wants to live, and he wants to go where he doesn't know also. This person, where will he go? At the end of the day, he is a nobody in the maze of this world.
Yeah. Man, anything else? What else can I do after I read? What do I do?
Once you can have your own views from the book, you are now free to fight. You will know how to help your brother when he is wrong. Okay. And you will know where your brother is wrong. For now, people don't... For others who hated racism, for example, they have become racist in the process.
Yeah.
In their mind, they said racism is wrong. Let me go out, fight racism. Then they end up becoming racist. One needs to sink, I repeat, the shaft of the mind into the mine of truth until they are able to see dross from gold. And then they will put gold aside and dross aside. This is... we are living in what I would call, though it's bad to say so, but I think I will call our generation a non-reader generation.
Okay.
We are living in a non-reader generation where billions of Christians don't even own a Bible. If they own it, they only know John 3:16 for God so loved the world. They are incapable of making their minds from an informed perspective from the book.
Okay.
And so they do with the histories. That's as they talk about the history of their fathers and such. They don't even know who their fathers were. Leaving that aside, my view is make your conclusions from an informed perspective.
Thank you so much.
Wow.
I've learned so much, and I'm sure our viewers have learned a lot. And even when my co-host decides to finally watch this episode, he will learn more than I did. And I'd like to say thank you for joining us. Again, if you'd like to talk to us or you have questions, just drop them in the comments and we'll get back to you. From me and Pastor Nyathi, from me, the soulful nerd, and Pastor Nyathi. Bye-bye.